What's going on, guys? Dropadooski here. Today we are going to go over the Trag'Oul's Corpse Lance Necromancer build for 4-man groups. Now currently on all of the leaderboards, all regional leaderboards, the Trag'Oul's Corpse Lance Necromancer is the strongest choice by far for the RGK and for helping to clear the rift in the early weeks of Season 11. I do think eventually the Inarius Command Skeletons Boss Killer build will outscale this one, but for the time being, this is a very, very solid pick for doing 4-man meta speeds. You can also do push runs. I believe that this is already pushing into the 120s in the European servers and Korean servers. I'm not sure how high it's on an NA right now, but it is doing very, very well. I'm going to go over a couple of different variations. As you can see in the background, I'm running Borrowed Time, which is identical to the solo variation, which gives you more rotations of the Corpse Lance and Land of the Dead. And I will link the solo video in the description of this one in case you guys haven't seen that, but it plays pretty much exactly the same way. There's a second variation of this that utilizes Cursed Scythe, which gives you frailty. I will put a video at the run through at the end of this video of us using that variation instead. There's positive and negatives to both, and we'll go over that in the gear and choosing the abilities right now. So currently I have the Borrowed Time here equipped. Let's go over the gear first. Now this is utilizing the 6-piece set of Trag'Oul's, which is the strongest damage multiplier out of all the Necromancer sets currently in the game. So this build has been, for a lot of weeks in the off-season, before Season 11, and now in Season 11, the strongest solo pushing and 4-man setup for Necromancer, hands down. So we're utilizing the 6-piece Trag'Oul set where Corpse Lance is our primary damage output. So we want to get Corpse Lance everywhere we can. So you can get 15% Corpse Lance on chest, you can get it on shoulders, and you can also get it on offhand. Now the offhand is very, very hard to get, but you can use any offhand that you can find that rolls the correct stats. So that's kind of a plus for this. You have a larger loot table to go from. You're not looking for a very specific offhand. You can use any of them. This one has crit chance, cooldown, but does not have Corpse Lance. The ideal one will have all 3 of those, plus Maximum Essence at the bottom. Now, Maximum Essence is very, very important for any Simulacrum and Shadow Hook builds. Now, this is using the... Let's pull up the cubes so we have them side by side. This is using Simulacrum Reservoir, which doubles your Maximum Essence, and the Shadow Hook gives you 0.5% increased damage for every point of Essence you have. So when you go into Sim, you're doing mega damage with your Corpse Lance. And so with that being said, you want Maximum Essence wherever you can get it. So currently right now I have it on my main hand and my offhand. I believe you can get it elsewhere, but I don't think I have it currently on any of my gear. But you want to prioritize getting it on both of these. Now the main hand weapon you're going to be using for this setup is Trag'Oul's Carotid Fang. These things are kind of hard to get well, but you can get them very easily rolling mats in the cube. I've been getting all of mine just upgrading yellows, and I got multiple ancients. This is the best one I've gotten so far. You're looking for attack speed, cooldown, maximum essence, and a high passive damage roll. So mine's 186 here. It can go all the way up to 200%. So I'm going to be going for a primal weapon, as everyone is, but that gives me a reason to do bounties daily. I really want to get a primal Trag'Oul's Fang because you use this for this build. It can be used for multiple builds currently in the season. So primary stuff that you want is attack speed, cooldown, maximum essence, and a high damage roll. It goes all the way up to 1940. So I have seen these weapons at just near 3K or 3K dependent, but you don't want percent damage, you want attack speed. I will put a link in the description to an in-depth analysis of the Trag'Oul's guide and how attack speed affects this this setup. It was very well done. It's a Reddit post. I will put it in the description area, and I do recommend you read it. Gives you a lot of insight into how this build works. This also uses the Dainties binding. This belt is pretty standard for almost all Necromancer builds, as it is the #1 way to get damage reduction outside of using a unity, and you can't do that in groups. So Dainties is very, very strong. I do have an ancient one, but I'm always looking for the highest passive roll here. So my ancient is 45. This non-ancient is 49% damage reduction. Goes all the way up to 50. You want to get that 50%. On the jewelry, it's T-Pledge, Compass Rose. You want that Endless Walk set. It gives you a lot of survivability during the Rift, and it gives you mega damage output when you go into Land of the Dead and Sim and you're spamming Corpse Lance, if you time it correctly, and I'll go over that in a second after we go over abilities. And then you use the Crisbin Sentence. The perfect one would be cooldown, crit. I have attack speed here, which is still good. This is a very good Crisbin Sentence. If I didn't have this Crisbin's, I would be wearing a Convention of the Elements. The Convention of the Elements is huge. It's been in the game for forever, and the good thing about Convention of the Elements with Necromancer is there's only 3 elementals, so you've got cold, poison, and physical. So you get a lot of rotations with the physical damage output rather than the standard 4 that you get for all the other classes. I think that's all of the gear here. Oh, the bracer slot. Now the bracer slot for solos, as I will put the solo guide below, you would be wearing Nemesis bracers. Now you're not, because the barb is now. So there are two things that you can do here. For a push run where your primary objective is doing damage, I would take the Lacuni Prowlers. They're by far the best spot. You can get attack speed on them. These are pretty poorly rolled Lacuni Prowlers, but you would want to get some with physical, intelligence, vitality, attack speed, crit, no movement speed, of course. And then there's the alternative here. If you're having trouble surviving in your speeds, but you want to get that free roll, you can take Ancient Parthenon Defenders. Now, Ancient Parthenon Defenders give you a ton of damage reduction in the Rift, help you survive. They're really, really useful. And if you're having no trouble at all destroying elite packs and also killing the Rift Guardian in one rotation in your speeds, you can definitely take this, and it will help you survive, because this build is very, very squishy. If you get caught out, certain mobs that are just horrendous for this build, Tusked Bogans will kill you in one shot. So if you're in a group grift and you're blood rushing around, if they happen to charge at you, you're dead. Ancient Parthenons will help protect you from that. Other mobs, Succubus, and of course goats. Goats are OP, goats. So other than that, this build is pretty much okay in the runs, and you can do a fair amount of scouting. You can help get globes. You can do all kinds of things that make this build a lot more fun to play than its solo, than the solo variation. The last piece in the cube that I want to go over is the Corpse Whisperer Pauldrons. Corpse Lance damage is increased by 30% for 3 seconds when you consume a corpse, maximum of 20 stacks. When you're in Land of the Dead with Sim up, you're spamming Corpse Lances. I mean, they're coming out based on your attack speed. They're coming out so fast. So you get the full damage output from these shoulders, and it's a huge amount of damage added to your primary damage output. So let's go over the abilities here, and then I'll go over the variations. And as I said before, at the end I will put up the Cursed Scythe run that you can watch and see the difference in play styles from the 2 variations. Now, the Borrowed Time one that I showed in the beginning and that I have set up now is the best setup. I feel it's the best setup for speed runs where you're having no troubles, because this 20% cooldown gives you more rotations. More rotations means you kill more packs. But you lose frailty, right? So a lot of times you're going to be in groups and they're like, oh, you don't have frailty, and say for instance you're fighting a yellow and you don't get it all the way down and it's got about 10% health. Well, if you had frailty, you'd have died, you know. You can use corpses that your Witch Doctor makes to kill them. So I still think this is the best setup for speeds, but you can go an alternative version, then you have frailty and there's no complaints. So on the abilities here, Decrepify Borrowed Time gives you that 20% cooldown reduction. Corpse Lance, Blood Lance, as this is a Trag'Oul set, so anything that costs health gets the damage buff. this is your primary damage output, and it can be used in Land of the Dead and outside of Land of the Dead, and I'll kind of demonstrate that in town before we wrap up the video. Devour Cannibalize, this is the best Devour you can use for this, as when you go into Land of the Dead and Simulacrum, you do take heavy damage from spamming the corpse lance. All you got to do is hit this once or twice, and your health comes right back up, and you will not die. Blood Rush Potency, it doesn't matter what rune you pick here because you get all the runes from the Trag'Oul set. Simulacrum Reservoir, now this is why you do so much damage. It doubles your maximum essence and gives you huge numbers with the Shadow Hook in the cube. And then Land of the Dead, Frozen Lands, this enables you to just spam the corpses. It also freezes everything, kind of saving you because you are vulnerable when you're spamming Lance. And it's just overall one of the strongest abilities in the game. I mean, it'll freeze almost the whole map, as most of you guys have seen when you're playing the Necromancers with Land of the Dead. Your passives here, Overwhelming Essence, gives you more essence. Spreading Malediction, you receive 1% damage bonus for each enemy afflicted by a curse. When you're using Borrowed Time, everything should be cursed, so this should be a huge damage increase for you. Stand Alone just gives you more armor, and then Blood is Power. Now, I think that this currently is not working 100% correctly. I myself and other people in my clan have noticed that sometimes it gives you the damage reduction, sometimes it doesn't. Someone told me that it's only 5%, not 20%, but it's still worth having because you're still getting some cooldown, but I do not think it's getting the full 20% when you cumulatively lose 100% health. And that does not mean die. That just means that you've lost that much health. You can be healed back up, right? But when you lose what your quote-unquote full health pool is, so 497k, it should reduce all your cooldowns by 20%. But I'm not seeing that happen. So it's still useful to have there, but I don't think you're not getting 20%. I think you're getting 5% currently. So before we switch over to the video guide and wrap up this description, I want to go over the alternative variation before you guys see the gameplay. Now, what you can do here, and this is how you would run a push rather than your speed farms. Your speed farms would be, you know, 90 to 94. You're trying to get it down to 6 to 7 minutes. You know, maximum 7.5 minutes. Fastest ones you'll get are probably 5.5 minutes. You know, you're trying to keep those up. You're always going to run Bane of the Powerful, and you can run this Borrowed Time. When you're doing some sort of push or something that would, you know, 100 plus, then you can switch your Borrowed Time ability here to Grim Scythe, Curse Scythe. Now, since you're utilizing the Trag'Oul's Fang, it gives you the 100% chance to apply a curse when using Curse Scythe, right? So when you're going around, and you'll see this in the gameplay, when you're going around and cursing everything, you'll get frailty on everything as well. So not only for yourself, but for the Witch Doctor, if it gets down to 15% health, it immediately dies. Frailty is so OP. I can't believe it's actually in the game at the moment, but Frailty, 15% auto dead. So you get Frailty for free by using Curse Scythe. This also gives you the ability to stack Stricken, as in a push run. You can switch out Bane of the Powerful for Stricken, and then you can just sit and wail on the boss for a couple of COE rotations, get your Stricken stacked a little bit, and then go in for mega damage output. Now, I'm going to go over this here in town. There's a couple of things you can do in the group runs versus the solos that help even when you're not in cooldowns. Now, currently in the game, you can use up to 16 corpses at a time before new corpses need to be made. So when you get a big giant pull together, I'm sorry, I'm using my hands here. When you get a big giant pull together, your Witch Doctor's in the middle, and he starts blowing up everything, and say you have a yellow pack. If you watch your Convention of the Elements rotation down here, when you get to physical, as your Witch Doctor is making corpses, you can just go ahead and spam Corpse Lance. Now, you're not going to be benefiting from the Simulacrum Reservoir buff, and you don't have Land of the Dead up, which means you are vulnerable to things around you because they're not frozen. But if you can land in an Oculus Ring and spam those corpses during physical rotation, you are going to chunk the boss, the yellow pack down, even without your cooldowns up. So little things or little tricks that I've learned as we've been playing this. Say for instance you have a Juggernaut, right? Juggernauts are the worst pack for any build utilizing Crisbins, as those packs cannot be slowed. So you're losing all of this damage buff from this ring. So what I'll do is, while the Witch Doctor is killing trash, I will utilize those corpses, synergizing with my physical rotation here, to get him down. You know, get him down to 2/3 health or half health before I go into my cooldowns, because then I know for sure I will kill him in my cooldowns, because there's nothing worse in these runs than, okay, I'm going into cooldowns, they have a huge cooldown on these things, and you don't kill the pack, and all the trash is gone, which means you either got to sit there and wait with your group until your cooldowns come back up, or skip that pack and you just wasted a rotation. So make sure as you're going to not only utilize the corpses he's laying, but if you start to run out of trash for the Witch Doctor to kill, just do this around the pack and wait for your physical. As soon as it recharges, keep making these corpses, keep making these corpses, and then when physical rolls around, blow them up, right? So you can make some corpses on your own, and you can use those, and always use the Oculus Ring when you're out of Land of the Dead and Simulacrum. I try and use it when I have my cooldowns as well. It's just dependent on where they spawn, if I can see the packs, all of those things. I believe we've covered everything here. I want to quickly do a big shout out to everyone that has stopped and watched these videos. Thank you guys so much for checking them out. Everybody that's subscribed, thank you guys so much. Also, Twitch. We just hit 10,000 followers on Twitch. Cannot believe it. Everybody from my Twitch channel, thank you guys so much for all of the support. It's been unreal. If you guys have not stopped by the Twitch channel, it's twitch.tv/Dropaduski. I stream Monday through Saturday. I try and shoot for 8 hours a day. Sometimes it's a little shorter, but I always start at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and go until 8 or 9 depending on the day. Then on Saturdays we have a short schedule. I do noon to 5. That's our only themed music day, but we do like soundtracks and other things like that. It's a lot of fun. We also have an in-game community called Smoke Break. I run that community with Wolfcrier. He's another YouTuber. I'm sure many of you guys have seen his videos. It is on North American servers. Jump on in, join the community. Here, I'll show you guys this real quick. We do have a lot. We got 644 members in here, and everybody's been very cool and very helpful. So come on in and join us. Stop by the stream. Once again, thank you everybody so much. I am going to put the Kurth Scythe run here at the end of the video so you guys can see that variation. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be getting out more videos soon. I want to do the Inarius boss killer, and then a couple of other non-Necromancer videos, because there's a lot of you guys not playing the Necro, and we got to get some love out there for those classes as well. So thank you guys so much, and good luck in the grifts.